Sagte Bava basra, Daf Samach Zayin Amar Aleph. We're starting from the Mishnah. Before we spoke about somebody who sells a house stam, so we spoke about what's included and what's not, and now we're going to talk about the same binagay to achotza. Amoiches achotza, one who sells achotza stam, he didn't detail what's included in the mechira. Moches habotim, if he sold the houses that are open to the chotza, or beireis, shichin, uma'areis, or pits, ditches and caves that are in the house and these houses. So we say when he sold the house stam, he sold together. When he sold the chatzah, he has sold also the beira shichnu ma'ares. So now we have a kasha. We said before that b'negeya when he sells a house stam, it's not included the beira shichnu ma'ares. It's not bought to the house, and it's not included in the sale. Nevertheless, when the gate achotza, which is much greater and encompasses much more than a house, therefore it does include beira shichnu ma'ares. That's what the Rashbam Bava is. Okay, so the Gemara avaloi Samatalton, but he didn't sell him the movable items that are found there. But in the time when he said, I'm selling you everything that's in the chatzah, kulan, all the movable items that are found there, mechurin, is sold together with the chatzah. So he's telling you now that this, when it says the kavanah of the Mishnah means all the kalim that are used for all the tashmisha kalim of the balabayis, even though they're not designated for that chatzah, are included in the sale, but not chitim, sa'irim, or balachayim. They're not called metaltalim. They're not included in the mechnis of the chatzah. That's what the Rashbam says. Okay, so Mishnah Vayt ben kach or ben kach. Whether he says who the komash v'seiche the chatzah and everything that's in it, and whether he doesn't say it, loy macha, loy amerchatz, loy esbeis abad shabeseicha. He hasn't sold the bathhouse or the olive press that's in that chatzah, because these things are not considered as a part of the chatzah. It's not included in the lashon of kol mash b'seichei. The Rashbam explains, since most chatzeres, the merchatz and the beis abad is not usually included. It's not there isn't b'chlal in most chatzeres there isn't a merchatz or a beis abad. Okay. And he says the bnei chatzeres which are close use the merchatz or the beis abad in this chatzah, so it's not. So since it's not tashmish, which is used specifically for that chatzah, because if there's a beis abad and a beis hamerchatz in one of the chatzeres, all the chatzeres asmuchas law would also use it. So it's not designated for that chatzah. That's why it's not included with that chatzah. One who sells a chatzah, Ameir says, no, when somebody sells a chatzah stam, he only had sold them the ear of the chatzah, not the houses or the beiris that are in the chatzah. The Rashbam Bavans, let's see how much he paid, and you can see how much he bought. So, and we'll see how much was included in the mechira. Says the Rashbam, like we had before, there's no dinay no bekakois, and by kaki could charge much more than what it's worth, and it's still not considered as rina. That was the derech of kaka, to be sold at a higher price than what it's really worth. Somebody who sells a chatzah stam, he has sold the outer houses that are open to the chatzah, but mapnimim. And also, but mapnimim, so the Rashbam explains, the Ritva explains, the batim hapnimim are like rooms that are open to the house, and the house opens up to the chatzah. Obeys, those are karka that it's very sandy, and from them you make glass. So even though this place is not osilatida, it's only really made to dig sand. Nevertheless, since it's found in the boundaries of the chatzah, it's considered as part of the chatzah, and it's included in the sale. The stores that are open towards the chatzah, meaning they only sell to the bnei chatzah, the mekarazim are sold with the chatzah. And those stores that are not open to the chutzah, rather it's open on the other side to the Rishus Rabbim. They are not sold together with the chutzah. And then he brings down Hapsuch is Lakan Olkam, but what's if it's a store that's open side to the chutzah and side to the Rishus Rabbim? Hare Elu, the extra Elu, or others say even the Elu, the Bach omits it. And Karisimag does get sold together with the chutzah. Rabbi Lezer says, Hamichas HaChutzah, somebody who sells a chutzah stam, Lemachas Milusa Shal HaChutzah. He only sold the ave of the chutzah, only the ear of the chutzah. Oh man, but not the, like we said in the Mishnah, not the houses or the beiras that are in the chutzah. Gemara is Akasha. We learned that the stores that are psuchs lakan that are open to the chutzah and to the Rishus Rabbim, nimkarei sima, are sold together with the chutzah. In fact, how could you say that? But Rabbi Chia learned in the Braisen where it talks about the chanuyos were opened up side to the chutzah, side to the Rishus Rabbim. Ein nimkarei sima are not sold together with the chutzah. So you have these two Braises that contradict each other. So Gemara lekasha. This is no question. Oh, the Reiv Tashmishu Lagag. Here we're talking about that the main usage of the store was sold towards inside the chutzah, more than to the outside. And in that case, it's sold together with the chutzah. The Reiv Tashmitayu Levar. Here we're talking about most of the usage of the store is sold towards the Rishus Rabbim. Therefore, it's not sold together with the chutzah. We learned in the Mishnah Rabbi Lezer says one who sells a chutzah, he only sold the ear of the chutzah, not the bottom and the beiris. So Rabbi had said, what's if he used the lashon? The Meicha used the lashon dirta instead of chutzah. Dira zuma churula says this dira is sold to you. So at the time of the Chida, since he didn't use the lashon chutzah zuma churula, he used dira zu or kuliyalma like pligi the batim mashma. Everybody agrees if you use the lashon of dira, that's including also the batim shebechutzah, because people don't live in the shetach, in the ear of the chutzah itself. Rather, they live in the house, and he used the lashon dira. Even Rabbi Lezer will be made that it's included in the when he used the word dira. The batim shebechutzah, the chutzah and the batim were sold together. Keep pligi, where are they arguing? If in the place where they use the word lashon darta, which means chutzah, he says darta zu mechurulach. So maso tabitza mashma. Rabbi Lezer holds that this lashon of darta means the airspace, because we find darta in Bavli, in the Targum Bavli, is called chutzah. So it's only that shetach, the chutzah itself, and not the houses inside. But the Chacham hold that this lashon of darta includes batim. It's similar to, and he says darta is like dirasa, which is a lashon of dwelling. And people don't live in the air of the chutzah, rather they live in the houses that are in the chutzah. So according to this Pishush, if he would use the words chutzah zuma churulach, the Rashbam says, everybody would have holds yet he only sold out of chutzah, because this lashon is mashma, the shetach, which is open to the chutzah. That's it. The ear of the chutzah means only the ear of the chutzah that is being sold. The machlokes is in the place where he used the lashon darta zuma churulach. According to Rabbi Lezer, darta means in Aramish only chutzah. So it's as if he said just chutzah zuma churulach, and he only sold him the ear of the chutzah. The Tanakama says darta is lashon dira, like the word dira also. Okay, zog the Gemara Vaita, ikidi amri. Others say Amar Rabba, Amar Rabba, Idi Amalei. If the Meicha said to look darta zuma churulach, he says the lashon darta. Everybody agrees that it means it's including the house. It's lashon dir, a lashon dwelling, and the people who live in the house. So when he sold that, when he used the lashon darta, he was not only referring to the chutzah. Everybody agrees he was referring to the house as well. Keep pleading where they arguing. Chutzah. He used the word chutzah. One holds chutzah can only mean the ave of the chutzah, not including the houses. One holds it's like the chatzah mishkan, where it says the lashon chatzah. It says that the oirach of the chatzah, length of the chatzah was 100 ames, the width of the chatzah was 50 by 50. So you see, this shetach was including also the Oyel Mayit, the Kodesh HaKadoshim, which was considered as Batim, and also the Chotzer, the ear of the Chotzer. So by us, when he used the words Chotzer Zumechudalach, it should be including the houses and the ear of the Chotzer together, just like by the Chatzah Mishkan included the Oyel Mayit, which was considered as a deer, the Oyel Mayit and the Kodesh HaKadoshim. If a person sold to his friend chulsis, karka, which is very sandy, that's from which we said before you make glass, mutzula, and the riverbed in which there you found kesef v'zov. Here he brings down the yesh mefashim from the Rashbam. The kavanah is for fish. So as the Yemara Hechzik, if the lokeich made a kinyan chazak bechulsis in the sand bed, he wasn't kind of automatically the riverbed, and so to the reverse. He was not kind of if he made a chazaka in the riverbed, he wasn't kind of the chulsis. The chulsis means the sand beds. Why? Because these two kakais have two completely different worlds of usages. It's used, each one is used in a completely different way. One is very sandy and it's made for glass, and the second one is to search if there's silver and gold. So even though they're next to each other, the kinyan chazaka won't help from making a chazaka in one for the other. So where do we learn it out? So the Rashbam brings down the Gemara from Kedushin that the kinyan chazaka helps the kinyan karka. Where do we learn it out? From Gedalia ben Achikam. Those people that weren't exiled to Bava after the Chum Bayis Harishin, rather they remained in Eretz Yisrael. So Yirmiyah said to them, "Ushvu ba'areichem asher tefastem." So sit in your cities which you held on or grabbed onto. So what does it mean? How would they zeicha in these cities? So you want to be. It says ushvu. Ushvu means be yeshiva. Through this that they sat there, settled there and made a kinyan chazaka. We have a similar pasuk. It says v'rishtem oisa v'yishaftem ba. So how would they be Yerasha? How would they inherit it? So it says v'yishaftem be yeshiva through settling, making chazaka in that city. But only in that city. But it's another city. They weren't acquired together with the city they made a chazaka. So too the chulsis and the mitzula, the sand bed and the riverbed. Since each of these kakais were completely two different usages, they're completely different than one another. Therefore, when he makes a kinyan chazaka in one of them, it will not help for the other one. That's what the Rashbam says. Says the Gemara, is that true? That if he makes a kinyan karka of one of them, it doesn't help to be kind of the other one? So for Gemara, we know Shmuel said, if a person sold to his friend Esas this best Medinas 10 fields in 10 different Medinas, since he made a chazak in one of them, he's kind of all of them. So why over here, when he makes a kinyan either in the chulsis or in the mitzvah, doesn't help for the other one? And what are we talking about? We have to just be marked. The Gemara Kedushin says that the words of Shmuel is talking about that he paid for all the service. You can ask me a question: if he paid for it, why does he need a kinyan chazaka? Because it's talking about a place where the money is not enough to acquire it. It's a place where they were able to write a shtar, a deed, on all the kakais, aside from this money. So if it's not so, he could be kind of all the sadis. If we're not talking about that, he needed in addition a shtar to be kind of the kakais, so it should have been kind of with kesef. And you wouldn't need a kinyan chazaka. Therefore, he says that even without a shtar, but he bought it for money, but therefore even one kinyan, even if it's a shvacha kinyan, but will help for all the other sadis. Of course, if he didn't give money at all, or he only gave for one of the sadis, and then he does a kinyan, it's only going to help for that sada. Or so too, when he makes a kinyan b'sada hefka, he's not clean all the sadis b'chazaka that he made in one of them. So, in fact, the Gemara, but we said that if he paid for all 10, and he made a chazak in one of them, he's going to be kind of all the other fields in the other 10 Medinas, even though they're so far apart. So over here, when he made a chazak in the sand bed, and the riverbed is next to it, why should they be kind of together? And the Gemara Hasam over there, the Sadnara Chadu, all the kakos, when you're talking about the gufa karka of the whole, even though they're far apart, it's considered as one. All the sadzach mechubares. And in addition, that all these fields use the same type of usage, and they weren't different than each other. Therefore, it was a kinyan. When he made a kinyan of one field, it's all connected. It's as if he made a kinyan of all of them. But over here, but again, to the sand bed and the riverbed, each one is a completely different usage, even though they're close to one another. Therefore, the mais chazak in one of them will not help to acquire the other one. And therefore, it's not considered as one sada. He could how many others learn like this. Others say it's Nachman that if he sold him chulsis umetzula, if he sold him a sand bed and a riverbed, hechzik the chulsis kanas umetzula. If he made a chazak in the sand bed, he was automatically kind of the riverbed. It's self-understood. We have the Mishnah that says that if he sold him 10 fields in 10 different cities, and he makes a chazak in one, he's automatically kind of all of them. So according to the Yikadam, we were learning faket, that if he makes a kinyan in one, he's automatically kind of in the other. Makes a kinyan sandbed, he's automatically kind of riverbed, or the reverse. And the Gemara says it's pashit, because we have a Gemara that says already, a Mishnah that says it. Or Shmuel said it. I don't know if it's a Mishnah, but Shmuel had already said, once he makes a chazak in one, he's automatically called kind of all of them. And the Gemara wanted to think, I would have said that the words of Shmuel was said only Hassam. Then he gave to the 10 fields, which were in 10 separate countries, or 10 separate cities. Who? There we said one king will help because the Satan had the Arachadu. It's the Gufa Aretz is all one, and if you make a kinyan in one, it's all one karka, and he's kind of all the others. But over here, when we're talking about the sandbed and the riverbed, which its usages are totally different, so I would have said, I would have possibly said that you need a separate kinyan for each one. Therefore, Rav has come to teach us that even by kakois, but their usages are completely different. When you make a kinyan in one, you're automatically going to be kaina in the other. Here we're going to learn a similar case, a new Mishnah, but which also talks about selling instead of, before we learned house, stam, what's included, field, stam, what's included. Now we're going to talk about a beis abad. A meiches beis abad, one who sells the house of an olive press without specifying any details what's included in the sale. Bachas hayam. He sold the pool, Vesamamel, and the Gemara will explain what it means. Vesamamel and the crush of Vesapsules, and the maidens, the Gemara is going to explain what that means. But he didn't sell the boards, Vesagalgal, the will, Vesakira, and the beam. And but however, if he told the seller that he said, I'm sorry, if the seller told the buyer, I'm selling you it, meaning the house of the olive press and everything that's in it, everything is sold together with it. So, first of all, the klal is those things that are only what things are. When we said that he didn't sell, he didn't sell. When he sold stam the beis habad, but he didn't sell the avidim as agal v'zakayda, because they're metaltlin and they're metaltlin, they're movable items, they're not set in one place, so therefore it's not going to be included. But anything that's kvuyim, anything that's not movable items, are included in the sale. And then we said, what does it mean everything is included in the sale? It means only those things that are needed for the usage of the beis habad. but other things that were there for it to be watched and similar are not included in the sale. That's what the Rashbam says. Rabbi Lezer says, Abeches Habad, Beis Habad, one who sells the olive press, Machas Akira, he has sold also the beam. I'm going to talk about each one. So the Gemara, now the Gemara is going to explain all these words that were enumerated in the Mishnah. Yam, what does yam mean? A pool. Tlavcha, that's the vat. And the vat is where they put the olives in, into which the olives were placed to be pressed. Mamel is the crusher. Amar Rabbi Abba, bar mamel mafrachta. Abba bar mamel said that this is the mortar in which the olives was smashed before being pressed. So if you look at it, there was a seder how it was done. The olives were first pounded with a mortar. Then the second stage was that the pulp that was found. I'm sorry, no. The second stage is the pulp that was around in a mill. So those pulp was grinded. The second stage was grinding it after it was smashed, but pounded by the mortar, it was grinded, and then the third one was crushed into the olive press. So this mortar that's mentioned in the Mishnah was fixed to the ground. And since it was fixed to the ground, therefore it's included in the sale. That's what Rashbam says. Psula is the maidens of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said, these are poles of cedar wood that support the beam used to crush the olives. So if you look in the Rashbam, he says these poles didn't support the beam directly, but what did they do? They supported the crosspiece. You look in the picture on number 3 in the Hebrew Art Scroll. You'll see a picture of the thing, of how the crusher worked and a whole mechanism worked, and you'll see that these posts didn't support the beam, but it supported the crosspiece, which supported the screw into which the beam was attached to. Okay. Sagt die Gemara, Avidim, these are the boards, kafshe. These are the planks of wood that were placed in the vat on top of the olives. They would put it on the olives. You can see in the picture also that there were planks, and under those planks were the olives. Galgal. Galgal is the wheel. Chumrasa. This is the screw that lowers the beam up and down to crush it. Kairam is the beam that is used to crush the pulp itself. Okay, one who sells the olive press, the house of the olive press, without specifying what's included in the sale. He sold the planks, the blocks, and the vats. So he says the vat is which the olives were placed in. And the mortars, and the lowest stone of the millstones. But he didn't sell them the upper millstone because that's movable. And since it was movable, so it wasn't included in the sale. Zog the Gemara, the mill. So the upper stone, which was not attached to the ground, wasn't included in the sale. However, in the case where the seller said to the buyer, I'm selling you everything, the house of the olive press and everything that is in it, everything is sold in it. Even the upper millstone is sold. Okay, which was not attached to the ground. Benkach, whether he said who will come or not, loy macha loy yasavidim. He didn't sell the boards, of which were placed on the olives to pressure, to distribute the pressure of the beam. Okay, veloy esasakin, or the cloth sacks, veloy samachishim, or esloy esamatzufin, or the leather sacks, and these sacks were used to carry the olives in the press building. Since they were movable, it wasn't attached to the ground, so they weren't included in the sale. That's what the Rashbam says. One who sells the house of the olive press, he has sold the beam that is used to crush the olives. For it's not called olive press, only because of that beam. Since the beam is the one that actually presses the olives, that's what gives the olive press its name, olive press, because of that beam. So Rebbe Lezer rules, or paskins, that even though it's not connected to the ground, it's included in the sale. Zok the Mishnah Vaita Meiches Beis Habab, somebody who sells, I'm sorry, Amiches Hamerchatz. Now we're going to talk about when somebody sells a Merchatz Stam, what's included. He didn't sell him the planks that they put on the Beis Hamerchatz, upon which the bedders, those that are bathing themselves are standing on, in order they shouldn't burn their feet. So they, from the heat of the karka, there was water and there was a fire under it, so they had planks that you stood on top, so your feet shouldn't get burned, or your feet shouldn't get dirty. Lo yasasvalin, nor the pitchers or the barrels in which they use to fill up water for chitza, for bathing. Lo yasabaloniyos, and not the baloniyos. The Gemara will explain what the baloniyos were. The Ashbam says that the baloniyos, it brings down from the Gemara later on. It was like the towels that they dried themselves up with these towels after bathing themselves. So they're not included in mechira because they're metaltlin. They're not fixed in its place. Therefore, it's not considered as part of the merchatz, and it's not included in the sale. But in the time when he said the bathhouse and everything that's in it, everything is sold, meaning kulan, all those things that are needed for the bathhouse. And now this Mishnah continues. Whether if he says who he or not, he didn't sell him the pools shomayim of water that it was used for the merchatz, nor the storehouse which they use the firewood to heat up the merchatz. Since the water and these eitzim weren't designated only for the merchatz alone, because the balabais would use it for his own personal needs, so they're not included in the sale of when he says who with homash b'seichai, is that's not included. Somebody who sells a bathhouse stam and he didn't detail what he's selling with it. He sold them the house in which they stored the wood after, or the planks that they store after the bathing. And the house in which they stored these kerchiefs, which they would wrap their heads because of the heat of the merchatz. And the house in which they would store the barrels in which they would fill up to use for the Beis HaMerchatz, but the Beis HaViloyis, and in the house where they would store all the towels. So when somebody sells the Merchatz, he sold all these together with him, all these detailed things that I just said. But he did not sell as on the son of Matzma. The boards itself he didn't sell. and nor did he sell him the kerchiefs itself. V'loi satzma, nor the towels. But at the time that he says, I'm selling the bathhouse with everything in it, anything that was for the tzarcha mechatz, for the need of the bathhouse, mechurim were sold with it. Bein kach or bein kach. Whether he said he v'kol mashu b'seicha or not, loimacha es abreches hamesapkes loi. He didn't sell him the pools that are used to water the merchatz. Hamesapkes loimayim, that give the water for the merchatz, and this is bein. Even if he sold them in the summertime, and the Rashbam says in the summertime where the brechas, the pools there were very little water, so l'cheda it should be bottled. That pool, that structure should be bottled to the Beis HaMerchatz. So he says no, it's not. And whether there was a lot of water, it's not sold to the Beis HaMerchatz. Also, v'loi beis kinus ha'eitzim, nor the house in which they gathered the wood of the merchatz, because just like the eitzim itself weren't considered just the designated wood for firewood for the merchatz, so too, because he used the firewood for his own personal needs, so too the house that housed those firewood is not considered as designated for the merchatz, and it's not sold. The house, meaning the house that stored it, is not included in the sale, because it wasn't a house designated for firewood only for the merchatz. It was a house that was designated for firewood for other tashmishim also, for his own personal house. But if he's the meicha says to Lekech, I'm selling you the bathhouse, then all its usage, kulan, all these things, even the brechas, the pools, and the house that stores the wood, mechurim, is sold together with the merchatz, because he added the word vichol tashmishov. So when he adds extra words vichol tashmishov, we have to say his intention was to include even things that are not designated just for the merchatz alone, even if it's used for other things.